So salty this morning, Charlie. Everyone is losing their minds, and they don't do this unless you really caught them, and it seems like you did here.
Well, I'm not taking credit for any of it. We just happened to notice something and to kind of put the pressure of the audience and of our platform. And so we run these equations a lot, 270towin.com. I did a whole segment on the Nebraska thing months ago, and it just didn't catch fire. People just didn't care, and they're like, oh, whatever. And call it maybe just the collapse of the country. A lot of people feel as if they want to do something right now, that they wish the election was like today. And President Trump being the presumptive nominee, I mean, he is the nominee. All these factors and forces kind of came together, and just seeing how outrageous the Democrats have been behaving, it just was right place, right time. So we sent up this tweet and we said, hey, do you know that Donald Trump could win Nevada, win Arizona, win Georgia, and lose the presidency? And it was the tweet heard around the world. We did an entire show on it, impromptu, on our podcast, broadcast, every streaming channel, Real America's Voice. And, we said, hey, contact the governor. And, I had no idea what to expect. 5 hours later, the governor of Nebraska comes in and he says, I'm in support of this. I'm like, wow. President Trump, a couple hours later, says, I'm in support of this. Again, I'm not taking credit for any of this. Credit to the great governor, credit to President Trump. Yesterday, Senator Ricketts, who really runs the state of Nebraska, former governor, very, very well-liked, very influential in the state of Nebraska. He comes out and he says, I'm in support of this. Now, there's some legislative hurdles that we're still working through, the parliamentarian stuff. The Democrats are freaking out. There are some moderates that are trying to, make this not happen. But the votes are there, meaning that it's just a matter of getting to the filibuster. I'm happy to go into that, Benny, if you want, but that's not as interesting. I'm confident that we can navigate this, and we're keeping the pressure on. I'm going to Nebraska next week, either to celebrate or to try to strategize to get this thing across the finish line, because the powers to be are aligning in Nebraska, and the significance of this is profound. If we are able to get this done, this takes an electoral vote from Joe Biden and allows Nebraska to be in alignment with 49 other states of how they count their electoral votes.
So these headlines are wild, Charlie. Again, it only hurts when you push on something that's infected. They only scream when it really hurts them, when they're really upset about something. Here we go from Forbes this morning. Here's why Nebraska could cost Biden the election. These are the headlines that are being written right now about this strategy. So clearly, and we've just played segment after segment of libs just losing their minds over this. I mean, you've really unleashed the whirlwind, as it were. They're going to try to stop this. What's the best path forward? We did cover the news that there was a flip in the Senate. Maybe this is just providential, but there was a flip in the Senate. Now there's a filibuster-proof majority, I believe, in the Nebraska.
If that Democrat votes in favor of this, which we don't know. So last night, someone tried to attach it to an amendment that failed. That's fine. There's going to be another attachment. The governor could call a special session under this one subject, which is great. The governor has voiced support of this, right? The president has voiced support. So there's so many options at our disposal to get this done. We just have to have the will to get this done. Currently, there is one holdout that we know of. His name is Senator Brandt. I encourage your audience, if you want to contact him, we have all that information that we're going to put on our program. If you do so, be super polite, respectful. These people are patriots that have honestly been thrown into like this national conversation, and this bill was like completely dead. So, they're still making up their minds, and I think that they're going to listen to their voters, and I think they're going to make the right decision. So just be sweet and be respectful. It's Senator Brandt from Nebraska. Happy to show the information there. But yeah, and he's a great patriot. A lot of these guys are all of a sudden like, wait, what do I stand on this? I don't even know it was a bill. And they so the vote tally has been increasing the last couple of days as Nebraskans have been very warmly, very in a Midwestern charming way, making their voice heard. I want to emphasize this, though, Benny. One of the reasons why this is driving the Democrats in disarray, and you better believe Joe Biden has probably been briefed on this personally. You probably forgot about it. Kamala Harris, the entire Biden team, they're freaking out over this because they were unprepared.
Yeah.
And this is an organization that prides themselves on running superior political machinery, that is constantly crunching numbers, that is constantly working with data. They plan everything out, right, Benny? They always have a plan. In 2020, they had a plan for everything. Mark Elias, they didn't have a plan for this. They thought that Nebraska session would just kind of fade into the sunset. that this thing was over. Again, I don't want to celebrate yet. This is not done. But with the people that have voiced support, the governor, President Trump, and Senator Ricketts, the former governor, I would be shocked if if we are not able to figure this out. The votes are there. The support of the people. Nebraska is there. It's blood red. There might be some failed votes procedurally along the way. I encourage your audience just to make this the top priority, especially if you want to see Donald Trump become president in November. And think about it. What else can you do in the next 10 to 14 days to guarantee that Donald Trump gets another electoral vote? And it's even bigger than that, Benny. It now puts Nevada in play. Without this, Nevada means nothing, meaning that there is really no combination where Nevada is important unless you win Nevada, lose Arizona, and win Pennsylvania, which is like one of the least likely combinations. That's like as goofy as you get. Now Donald Trump can become president while losing Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, if Nebraska fixes this. This makes the blue wall not the blue wall. All of a sudden now Joe Biden has to expand his map. He has to go campaign out west. It weakens his budget to be able to spend in those 3 states, where Joe Biden wanted to just go all in on 3 states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. Nebraska does this. It jeopardizes that entire plan. Joe Biden now has to run a much more national campaign. So strategically, it throws a huge curveball into the Democrats' plans. And it's also good for Nebraska. That's the most important thing, is that why should a city, Omaha, get its own electoral vote?
Right.
That make an argument if the entire country does that. That system might be better aligned, but it's not the way it works, right? I mean, Texas, all the votes go to the winner. California, all the votes go to the winner. So basically, you're appropriating a disproportionate amount of weight on the metro area of Omaha that has been tiltingly over liberal. I mean, they have major college campuses, Creighton University, University of Nebraska, Omaha, huge medical centers, and a lot of out-of-state liberals have been moving to Omaha. It's a nice place to live, and like they do to a lot of metro areas. So why should they be able to effectively disenfranchise the collective political power of the entire state of Nebraska? It doesn't make any sense. And please, Benny, sorry.
This is something that happens in your home state of Illinois, because there's one county in Illinois that flips the state for Joe Biden. You can see that in the numbers, the 2020 numbers. There's a single county, Cook County, that flips the state for Joe Biden. Without that county, Donald Trump wins walking away. Yeah,
and so imagine how silly it would be if, let's just take a super red state that we count on, Tennessee, and like Memphis gets its own electoral vote. Or I mean, or if we said, in a state that we reliably win, like South Carolina, like North Charleston gets its own electoral vote. I could go through the list. It just wouldn't. This is the politics of power, and this is where Republicans are not very well versed in this, because some Republicans say, well, who are we to try to act as if? And it's like, we want to win, man. Like, it's very simple. Like, do you want to win or do you want to lose? And right now, if you say you want to win, and this is why I'm so impressed by the governor of Nebraska and Senator Ricketts, who I think are terrific for voicing their leadership here, because they're leaning in and the media is coming after them. They have a lot of political muscle in Nebraska. And it's my hope that they really, they get this done. I mean, they're the ones that more than just voicing support can get this thing to completion. And I imagine that them voicing support, they're going to put some political muscle behind this. I really am.
On your show yesterday, you had Eric Underwood, who is the GOP chairman of Nebraska.
Yes.
And if you want to ask why hasn't something like this been done, it's because, according to the GOP chairman of the state, who would know, he went to the RNC leadership, Ronna McDaniel, and she laughed in his face. And he begged her for help, and she says this is not important. And the follow-up question is, not getting Donald Trump electoral votes is not important to the RNC chairwoman?
Or just
how is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, yes, of course, Donald Trump, who was going to be the nominee, but you're the chair of the RNC. So let's pretend if it's, DeSantis or Nikki Haley, which is very low likelihood of happening. It's your job as the RNC chair to try and get more electoral votes for the president. And she basically says to Eric Underwood, yeah, it's not important. The RNC could have got this done. The RNC could have combined forces. They could have flown out there, met with the governor. This, by the way, Benny, this is not like the best case scenario as far as like we're kind of running out of time in this legislative session. We might have to go to a special session. We have to like attach it to bills. This is all just kind of because we started this conversation this week, right? If the RNC would have done their job and Ronna McDaniel would have been the actual chair of the RNC instead of doing whatever she did this last year, investing in flower budgets or whatever, then this could have been settled back in August, where it could have been done as a priority bill. They could have done the vote counting. You know what I mean? Like this now in a strange way, though, God works in mysterious ways. If this ends up happening the way it looks like it will, it makes it less likely for Maine to be able to counter. Now, Maine is a Democrat state that does their electoral votes also based on congressional district. And Donald Trump wins, and he will win again, the second congressional district of Maine, which is northern Maine. So Maine could counter and say, we're going to go to winner take all. But since this is happening so unexpectedly, since this is happening in such an organic way and so late in the legislative calendar, it's not impossible. It just makes it harder and less likely for Maine to counter. And also, I mean, you heard that Jim Messina, he's like, I think it's wrong that Nebraska is going to change the election rules. Like, okay, I mean, I'm sure you'd be supportive if, Maine were to do something like this.
I'm sure you'd be supportive of Pennsylvania illegally mailing votes to everyone, right? I'm sure you'd be supportive of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. And this is my ultimate question. You sort of led into it a little bit in your answer there, is why does it fall to you? Right? Why does it fall to the activist class? There is a professional consultant class who makes hundreds of millions of dollars off of Republican elections, running Republican elections. And let's just rewind the clock. Let's not even rewind the clock back to like our lifetimes when this could have been an issue that any Republican had dealt with over the past 30 years. Let's just go to 2020. Like, everyone saw the results of 2020 and nobody said, what's wrong with Nebraska? Why don't we flip this thing? Right? Nobody thought about that. Why does it fall to the activist class to always push these things when there are people making fortunes off the Republican Party for losing?
I mean, look, we care, Benny. We're in it for the right reasons, and we hate to lose. And we don't just, do what we do and like say, oh, we're going to go on home. I want to see this Nebraska thing get done, and credit to the governor and credit to the senator. I think they wanted to get this done for a while, and maybe it just wasn't a priority. But from the national Republicans,
yes,
my complaint is not with the Nebraskans, because this is a tradition they've had now for 30 years. It is what it is. Okay, fine, great. And they're doing the right thing. They're fixing it, right? And they understand the implications. And it just so happens that in prior years, the math wasn't as precise. And understand the reason why it's coming is because we did a census, so we have a new electoral map, right? So Montana gained an electoral vote, Illinois lost one. So it just so happens all of a sudden this one congressional district has a ton of power that in 2020 it didn't have. But what does the RNC do other than like sit around and run numbers and be like, if Joe Biden wins Michigan and he wins Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Trump wins Maine too, holds on to Iowa, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, flips Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, which he's up in all three of those polls, then it goes to a 269 to 269 tie, goes to the House of the Representatives, where every state gets one vote, and Donald Trump becomes president. So now all of a sudden what you've done is you've opened up a completely new avenue for us to win the presidency. And I don't know why. I guess it's just right place, right time. It's divine timing, Benny. We happen to send out the tweet, and you never know when these things are going to hit. You know that better than anybody else. I didn't know if the tweet was just going to be ignored and eyes were going to roll. But again, credit to the governor. He listened to the grassroots. And I want to see now the governor take this to completion. And he and the great Patriots, Nebraska, they're going to be heroes. They are going to be heroes if they get this done. We will celebrate them. We will remember them. We will honor them. Yes. It will be a significant win for the movement. And I'll say there's no excuse. Even if they run out of time in this session, just do a special session, get it done. The Nebraska can do attitude. Nebraska has 900,000 registered voters. 600,000 of them are Republican. 300,000 of them are Democrat. Right? This is not a close call.
Republicans may take the one electoral, and these headlines are unbelievable, Charlie. The one electoral vote Biden needs most. The panic. They're losing it. They're losing it. They're losing it. We have a meme that we created just for you. We wanted to play it for you before we switch topics really quickly here. This is a meme of Joe Biden having this explained. You said that Joe Biden was briefed on this. We actually had leaked. Okay, we have leaked footage of this. Here we go.
To me, like a normal liberal.
So we actually had this footage. Don't ask our sources, but we have this footage from inside of the White House war room. Joe Biden getting this explained to him. Moving to Donald Trump, because very few people have been called Donald Trump's fourth son, right?
Not.
You're not tall enough, I think, maybe. I've seen the new photos of Barron, so I don't know. I'm going to need a 23andMe.
That's right.
I need a 23andMe here, but you're pretty tall, and on tall order, you speak with the president quite a bit. He's going to be hosting one hell of a fundraiser this weekend. According to Axios, he may double the amount that Joe Biden raised. We have the article. We'll pop it up here. I just want to get you to sound off on this.
Yeah, I don't think Lizzo will be there. I don't think Queen Latifah will be there. I don't think Stephen Colbert will be there. This is massive. I have been very impressed with Susie Wiles and Chris LaSavita and Michael Watley and Laura Trump. You have to raise a war chest. And our side has to realize that. You need the resources to win. The bad guys have been trouncing us when it comes to raising capital. This is a signal, big time. A signal that we are not going to have more money, but we should have enough money in the ecosystem to be able to win. You factor that in with the Nebraska news and also the great news out of Wisconsin this week, where they banned Zucker boxes. And they also said that the procedures election manual must be followed word for word, and that election officials cannot make up their own election rules 30 days before, which sounds really simple, but it's now been officially passed as a ballot referendum. So huge news out of Wisconsin this week that jeopardizes, having these oligarch-funded Center for Technology of Civic Life drop boxes on every corner in Wisconsin that were illegally administered back in the 2020 election. Look, I'm not going to say we're going to win because we have Benny, they're going to throw stuff at us. We know that in the coming months, right? They're going to throw all sorts of stuff at us. But you could tell whether or not you are hitting a pressure point based on their reaction. And again, if the Nebraska thing meant nothing, they would be like, silly Charlie Kirk getting another electoral vote. Who cares? No. They're like, you are messing with our math and the takeover. Again, this is not a Charlie Kirk thing. This is not a turning point thing. This is a Nebraska thing. We just happen to do right place, right time. We sent out the tweet, went super viral. And we're prayerfully trying to assist and help the people in Nebraska get this done. And I'll be in Nebraska on Tuesday to try to make it happen.
That's right, guys. Let's pop up that event so that the audience can see it.
Yeah.
There it is right there. This is going to be Tuesday, April 9th in Omaha.
Hopefully a celebration event. But if it's not done on Tuesday, I'm going to just say no excuses, guys. Like, let's get this done. You have the votes. You have the popular will. You have the governor. Do a special session. Do whatever you have to do. I understand it's late in the calendar, but we will not allow this thing to die on the vine. Too much momentum, too much popular support. Let's get it done.
In case you're wondering if watching these shows, if there's any power, if there's any political power that we have as we're doing this, and what the action points are, or is this all just about people ranting? No, this is like proof that these shows are powerful, that we can actually change the country, and more importantly, that we're actually in charge of our party. Ronna's gone, right? McConnell gone. We're in charge of our party, and we're able to flip an electoral vote to Trump. There you go.
Let's get it done. We're almost there.